I hate to stop fun. So once more, we ring our peace bowl together today in our collective hope for peace. We also acknowledge that these lands that we love, where we love to hike and take long walks, that these lands that we love are the ancestral lands of the Yavapai people, the Wipukepas, the Tolkepayas, the Cuevkepayas, and the Yavapai. Today, I am grateful for Karen Hagberg for that beautiful ofrenda that is reminding us of people we have lost. I'm also grateful for Jerry Matiatos and Glenna Hudson, who came and is singing with our choir from Prescott UU Fellowship. Together, we have been imagining some fun ways for our two congregations to get together. And this is the second time that weather has gotten in the way of gathering outside. Apparently, we have no control over that. I find this very unfortunate. I'm also grateful to Susan Cooper, who is our extremely well-organized superpower of the green team. Our Granite Peak singers sing especially to them, but they sing to all of you in person and on Zoom. Words of welcome in Swahili, Jambo, Jambo. Let us listen to African processional.
Umefahamu, isefahamu rafiki. Jambo, jambo rafiki, jambo rafiki yangu. Jambo, jambo rafiki, jambo rafiki yangu. Kawaida umefahamu, wewe ni jambo. Umefahamu, nisefahamu rafiki yangu. Jambo, jambo rafiki, jambo rafiki yangu, rafiki yangu. Jambo, jambo rafiki, jambo rafiki yangu. Jambo, jambo rafiki, jambo rafiki yangu. Kawaida umefahamu, wewe ni jambo. Umefahamu, nisefahamu rafiki yangu. Jambo, jambo rafiki, jambo rafiki yangu, rafiki yangu.
Welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation in beautiful Prescott, Arizona. I'm Tracy Augustine, your worship associate today. We are glad you're all able to join us, whether you're here in person or on Zoom on this lovely fall day. I see Karen and Joan, hi. We also hope you all remain in good health. Please take a moment now to set your phones to worship mode. This is the mission statement of our congregation. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Please join us after the service for coffee, some treats, and conversation in Davis Hall. Or for those on Zoom, you'll be able to join the breakout room so you can chat with other Zoomers. If you are joining us for the first time, please check out our website at prescottuu.org for more information about GPUUC. And if you are here in person and here for the first time, there will be time to introduce yourself at the end of the service, and we'd love for you to stay and meet some other members. We thank our pianist, Lena Hubin, our choir director, Mary Lou Prince, our fabulous choir, I'm a little biased, the Granite Peak Singers, Elaine Hayes, who is running the media and sound. And again, we thank Glenna and Jerry and all our Sunday morning volunteers. In addition, you probably saw the announcements running on the screen before the service, and they'll be running also after the service in Davis Hall. But you can also read them in the order of service, the weekly Peak newsletter, on our website and in Reverend Patty's videos. Sandra Palacios, our Faith Development Coordinator, is teaching ages 5 and older across the street at our Faith Development building.
Imagine our nation united by love. I adapted this chalice lighting from one by Paul Stephen Dodenoff entitled, "For This 1 Hour." For this 1 hour, Spirit of Life, we let go. For this 1 hour, may we let go of our anxieties, our fears, our anger, our self-doubts, our regrets, our petty grievances, and our distractions. If only for this 1 hour, let the flame of this chalice burn them from our hearts and minds and light our way to imagine our nation reaching out from polarized positions to find the common ground needed to join our hands and our hearts, working together toward the ideal of a beloved community for all. For this 1 holy hour, inspire our imaginations.
Good morning, everyone. I'm imagining that you on Zoom are saying something as well. It is good to be here, feeling that creative power of autumn deep in our bones. We come together today to call on that power we could call the Great Spirit, as I spoke with you 2 weeks ago, Spirit of Life, to call on that power to spark our dreams and imagination. On Monday, in Hindu homes all around the United States and all around the world, Diwali will be celebrated with lights and the most amazing sweets you have ever had. As we begin this sacred time of envisioning our own nation, let us see our interconnectedness with the greater world, with the lights that will be lit in Hindu homes around the globe, and the leaves that are blowing around our building and filling up my parking spot, and the snow that I imagine is gracing some mountaintops this morning. Let us also give thanks for that rain that beat on our skylights in the night and that is keeping us from worshiping at Willow Lake. Let us give thanks. Please rise in body or spirit and let us sing together We give thanks. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and all far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. We're gathered here and those far away, for the time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Thank you. You may be seated, and let us say now our covenant together. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. And now I invite you to listen to our peace bowl once again. As we breathe in, come home to ourselves for a moment. Remember all that we are carrying, all the joys and sorrows that we are carrying through our lives, that all of us, each of us carried through these doors and have with you as you are sitting in your homes. I invite you, if you can, to feel the earth under your feet and all those layers down to that amazing fiery core, that ever-changing earth beneath us. And now I invite you up into those thick, thick clouds that may rain on us at any moment, and the wind that causes them to move so quickly. Let us breathe together. Let us see all of those invisible joys and sorrows that we bring with us. And now we will enter a time of meditation and music. And especially at this time, we remember the people of Ukraine, of Russia, of Belarus, of Poland. We give thanks for the doors that are opening, for the people who are saying no. We give thanks that Sister Anne is recovering. I asked Tracy to add some stones to our water for Sally and Bill Richards. For Karen Denny, for Randy Phillips, for Karen Anderson, for Ken Briefer, for Kat Euler, for Dan Reardon, for Eric Day, for Maria Fleury, who will have surgery, I believe, tomorrow. Is that right, Anna? And now I invite you, as the music is playing, to come up and add your own stones. I add 2 for the twins that were born last week, who are very healthy, one much bigger than the other, but doing well. They are my brother's first grandchildren. I added one last stone, actually two, one for all those joys and sorrows that didn't make it to the bowl on behalf of Zoom, our Zoom people. And I don't see anything in the chat. Are there any names you would like to lift up today? Leslie. Yes, Christy. Sean. Tim. Carol. Trisha. Marcia. Peter and Andrew. Joel.
see the way to reach ahead. Hands taking hands that once were closed, finding peace to heal the earth. In that vision we have the strength to make it so. We can see the way to reach hearts and minds of hands taking hands that once were closed, finding peace to heal the separates. We can see the way to reach across. Hands taking hands that once were close, finding peace to heal the earth. We have the strength to make it so. Open your hearts and minds to peace. Take my hand into yours. Fears dissolve into freedom. We are one. We are one. All belong in this circle. No more fear, only love. Peace is here when we see it. Now is the time to see what is true. Peace is in our hands.
We're so ready for a Zoom bomber all those years ago. The August before that pivotal election of 2016, Mary Lou and I were approached by the planners of an international peace conference to write them a song. And according to this group of peacemakers, the first step, can everybody hear me? Okay. I think because oh, now it's going on. Start over. The August before that pivotal, horrifying, I could use different words, election of 2016. Mary Lou and I were approached by planners of an international peace conference to write a song for their conference. According to that particular group of peacemakers, the first step before all other steps was to believe that peace was already with us. They wanted us to write that song that expressed peace not as a future dream, but as a reality right now. It took us weeks to write the song that you just heard. Months. It was a huge challenge to find words that described a peace that I could believe in, that I had experienced. When had I seen peace reveal itself in a situation that was fraught with fear? I searched my experience to remember when I had felt peace burrow up towards the light. Out of those experiences, the song was born. We are one. Take my hand. Peace is in our hands. During the first Gulf War, I was distraught. We were living in Japan. We were watching the bombing and the flight of refugees in a part of the world where I had spent 7 years of my childhood. I wondered, as I imagine many of you did, were we on the edge of World War III? A year later, when an uneasy peace had been established, I wanted to go there. I wanted to go to those countries where we could get a visa and travel around on buses and talk with people and see for ourselves what had happened, what was going on there. We arrived in Damascus bus station at around 10 p.m. without a reservation for a hotel. Remembering more Arabic than I thought I had, we found a hotel for that first night, later discovering it was a hotel for migrant male workers, some from Georgia, from different parts of the world. And everyone was very kind to us, but we found a more comfortable one in the light of the next day. But that comfortable hotel where we moved, there was something off in that lobby. There was a feeling, there was really a barrier. When we smiled, there was nothing back. No return at my tries at conversation. And then one day, we bought strawberries from a street vendor, a large bag of them, far too many for us to eat. And when we took them back to our hotel room, passing through that chilly lobby, receiving the key to our room plopped on the desk without a word. I thought, you know, it's natural this would happen. We were enemies. And my heart was so heavy going up that elevator. And when we got to the room, I heard that pesky voice that I sometimes hear that urges me to do something out of my comfort zone. And that voice within me was saying, take some strawberries to those men in the lobby. I went down the elevator, wondering if they would be thrown back at me. I walked straight to the front desk, and I felt as I did when I'd entered the lobby, that the friendly conversation they were having with each other stopped. And a barrier went up, a wall went up. And I lifted up the bag that I had made to look a little like a bowl onto the wooden counter. Everything seemed like it happened in slow motion. I wonder if you've had moments like that. Not knowing the proper words in Arabic for strawberry, I came up with the French word. What do you want? They said, I think they were saying that to me in Arabic. And I just reached out the bowl and I said in French, fraise, fraise. Please take these fraises for you. They looked at me with a kind of disbelief. And then they reached their arms across that desk. And then they smiled. With those fraises, everything changed. We, two lonely travelers, wondering if we had made a big mistake, we felt that connectedness and peace and laughter and belonging when we went through that hotel lobby. Fraise, we would say and laugh at each other. This experience was some of the evidence that I needed when I worked through writing that song, the words to that song, imagining that peace was waiting under the surface, that we are one. We are one. I wonder what stories you could tell us of times when peace came burrowing up through your feelings of dis-ease and fear. I want those stories for our Christmas Eve service. So if you have a story, write it down or come to my office and tell that story to me. Because I want to know when you have gone through that huge divide, that fear, to feeling we are one. Sunday evening, just a week ago, I flew from our marvelous Prescott Airport to Los Angeles. There isn't much choice, but I had something to do in Los Angeles. And I flew there for a retreat for Unitarian Universalist ministers at Rancho Palos Verdes. And one of the workshops was about discovering our strengths. And the idea was that if we know what our strengths are, we can lean into them and be more effective. There are different tests you can take for free to find your 5 character strengths. And in my video yesterday, I suggested that some of you take that. Did any of you take that test? Does anybody? Okay, so I want to hear what you found out from that test. Tell me the top word that you had, and I'll repeat it if you're not too embarrassed. I found mine a little embarrassing, but I'll tell you about that later. Honesty. That was Lou's. And boy, if you don't want BS, go to her. And if you're carrying BS, don't go to her. No. Yes. Curiosity. Other words. Yes, Annette. Seeking knowledge. Any other? Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, appreciation of beauty and excellence. That was among my 5 too. Yeah. Okay. Any others? Anybody else? Somebody in the choir? Chris. Honesty. Wow. What? Norma. Honesty. Whoa. Yeah, not a lot of BS floating around here. And I wonder, were you happy with what you found? Did you think, that really, that resonates with me? And I wonder if you hear what other people have, if you wish you had theirs. Like if you wished you'd come up with honesty or appreciation of beauty. I did. I took that VIA Institute test during the 7 hours I had to sit in the airport in Los Angeles to wait for my flight back to Prescott. And the first strength that came up was, guess what? Can you guess? Humor. Which is why I was saying that the first part, the stuff we were going to sort of wraps into my sermon. And I thought, oh no, that is so superficial. And my second one was creativity. The appreciation was number 5. I'm a minister. I think it should have been compassion, helpfulness. I texted Mary Lou and I said, I just found out that my number 1 strength is humor. She wrote back, guess what? I always knew that. Glad you figured it out. That is how we got through 24 winters in Japan. I had 6 more hours in that airport to think about me and humor and come to realize that it had been a part of everything in my life. It was how I connected with those men in Damascus and with our neighbors in Japan. We laughed so much with our neighbors that sometimes just when we'd catch sight of each other, we would start laughing. I was also flooded with awareness that the pandemic had challenged my number 1 strength. How could we find humor in the pandemic? Mary Lou once said, don't smile when you talk about people dying. And then I thought of Bruno, my trusty puppet friend, pack rat, who keeps knocking on the window of a cabinet in my study, asking to come out and say something. And I was saved by remembering that documentary many of us saw of the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, and about their humor and laughter. Then I felt a little better. But I recognized too that humor was as much a gift from my father as my short, wide 6D feet. In a time that could have been deadly, a year after Mary Lou and I came out in our very conservative church and our families were bunching together separately, but all together just hoping we would change our minds and come back. Mary Lou and I went to visit my father. He was teaching in Yogyakarta in Java. And we were with him for 3 or 4 days. And then we had that very complex goodbye. And we were at the train station. And Mary Lou and I got on the train, hugging, feeling sad, but feeling like, oh my God, we get to get out of here. And sad. And sitting there in that train, looking out at the platform. And my father was standing there in his suit. And all of a sudden, he took out a white handkerchief and he started to do a ballet dance. The visiting professor of geology at the University of Yogyakarta did arabesques and twirls with his white handkerchief. In my family, if we could laugh together, we were still a family. I believe humor helps us take things not so seriously. And if I would think of a weakness in Unitarian Universalism, it would be that we take ourselves so seriously. Sometimes when I go to General Assemblies, I just have to run out and take a breath and try to think of something funny to laugh at. But humor has been something for me that has helped me survive my most difficult times. And I sat in that chair, that hard chair of the airport that I still feel in my left hip. What if I leaned into humor instead of wished that I had compassion at the top of my list? I believe we need all of our superpowers, and mine happens to be one of them is humor. But we need all of them. We need honesty. We need appreciation. We need, what were some of the other ones? Curiosity. And in my years with this congregation, can you believe this is our 4th year together? I want you to gasp. It does. It seems like, no, it doesn't. I will not go that far. But I believe that in this congregation, our shared ministry has been most effective when we are each exercising our individual superpowers, our individual strengths together as a team. Creative ideas and humor can meet with people who are great at organizing, and I can see many in this room who are, and who are good at making a practical plan. And there are those whose superpowers lead them to show up, to implement the idea and paint this ceiling so we can actually have better sound in this room. Some have superpowers that say, have you ever thought of it this way? Or there are detail-oriented people who bring us down to earth. And when all of those superpowers are activated, we might need some humor to keep us from getting into a bad mood. Now, what does this have to do with imagining our nation? Because that's what we're here to envision today. How do we imagine our nation? I think that our work here in this community, in our neighborhood, in the Quad City area, can be the work of practicing democracy in a new way, an enlivened way, where we are using our superpowers. This is described in a book by Cormac Russell, Rekindling Democracy, a professional's guide to working in citizen space. He sees the neighborhood as the smallest unit of democracy, a neighborhood built of people who bring different strengths, not all the same ones. And he says that instead of looking at all the needs around us, which often we do as a religious organization, that we should look at what the people around us have to offer as strengths. If everyone can lean into their strengths, he believes that democracy will be rekindled. I want you to try this point of view when you talk with each other. What are the strengths that you see instead of what are the needs that you see? We are going into a time of election. How many of you are afraid? I hope all of you are voting. And I hope you're doing what you can to encourage others to vote. And we cannot have our feelings of joy, our feelings of well-being be dependent on the outcome, especially in Yavapai County, or we would be often miserable. I invite you, let us listen to our intuition that can lead us to do things that will affirm our oneness. Let us be present to the humans around us in this sanctuary and in the supermarket and on the plaza. Do not isolate. Do not sit alone with the bad news. I believe when we courageously reach out to humans who are actually there, we open the possibility of finding a different reality beyond the news. Because whatever the outcome of this election, we can create our reality right here in Prescott, in the Quad City area. I believe we are a kind of microcosm of our nation. And we can do that by dissolving our difficult feelings into laughter, into kindness, into wherever your superpower or intuition takes you. I encourage you to shine up your superpower, use it courageously, because I have to admit to you, it takes more courage for me to use humor than to be serious with you. And that would be deadly, wouldn't it? Whatever your superpower is, this world needs it. I believe that through leaning into our strengths, we find our role in healing this earth. Through leaning on each other, we find community and we find joy. Together, we can be a building block of that nation that we imagine. And together with all of our strengths, our being together will act as alchemy to create that gift, that ephemeral gift all of us need to survive, hope. Hope. For alone it is impossible. And with all our gifts working together, we open that vision. We are one. We are one. Do you want to say it with me, choir? We are one. And if you feel it, you can say it out there too, and on Zoom. We are one. We are one with all that is here. Amen. And may it be so. And now we get to sing a really fun closing song, Lean on Me. Where we are going to move into an action. I would love for any who are here who would like to introduce themselves to do so. And I think, I don't know if I don't really see anybody who hasn't, well, maybe, anyway. I won't stare at you. But I encourage you to, because a lot was said after I asked you to think about times when you had reached across a divide and found something beautiful. I really want those stories for our Christmas Eve service. Or when someone has reached out to you. And if you don't have such a story, make one happen between now and Christmas. That's your homework. So our imagination has taken us to this idea of being a building block of democracy right here and using our strengths. We have made so many small steps around us, around this building. We have a community garden. We're doing lots of composting. How many of you are doing composting with the farmers market? Or with our compost pile. If you don't know about composting with the farmers market or with your chickens, somebody's with their chickens, okay. If you don't know about that, come to me afterwards because I am a missionary of composting at the farmers market. But I wonder how many of you, and I see there are two couples here who have solar panels on their homes. How many of you have wanted to be connected with sustainable energy on your homes? Okay, we did. I think you went through that process with us when they came, and we have so many trees around our house that we were going to have like an enormous hat of panels to get what we needed. It was just, there wasn't enough sunshine. And we found that there is a way to connect to sustainable power through APS and Arcadia. And I am so impassioned with this idea, which the green team, Susan Cooper, is impassioned with, that we wanted to have this idea presented to you as part of a service, because this is part of who we are, to make our footprint lighter on this earth we love so much. So I'm going to invite Susan Cooper to give her presentation, and you will learn how, without doing anything, you can connect with sustainable power. Susan.
Thank you, Patty, for this opportunity to talk to you about community and the power of the community. I know historically you have already done a lot in terms of making changes and making that lighter footprint. The history is there. You've created Green Sanctuary, and this preceded before I ever came to this congregation. And so I'm very excited to be here today to talk about community action. In fact, I don't know, this word, community action just gets me excited to be able to talk about that. So if I could get the next slide. So we want to have an opportunity when I'm talking to the Green Team to be able to give people an opportunity to act locally. And so we were kind of inspired by Patty's story about finding out and sort of stumbling onto this opportunity to actually support renewable energy sources. And what we found was that, yes, APS and Arcadia do provide an opportunity to be able to utilize renewable energy sources. And so we came up with a goal, because we were trying to be imaginative, of what would that look like in our congregation? Could we in fact get 25% of the households to commit to utilizing renewable energy sources? Well, I'm hoping that we can count on you. And so this is what today is about. So, but I could get the next slide. We know that, and you've probably, what I'm going to be sharing here, this is information you're probably already quite familiar with, because I know many of you are engaged in understanding the impact of using renewable versus non-renewable sources. And what EPA tells us is there's good reason to rely on these. And there's a number of impacts or issues surrounding it. One, it actually helps us, decrease the amount of greenhouse gases, therefore affects air pollution. It also helps with making us less dependent on foreign energy sources. And then lastly, it helps to support as far as the economy, especially when it comes to solar and wind industry. Now, when you look at these issues, how many of you feel that these are important issues to support? Okay, yeah. And I see a lot of hands up. Okay, now I've got another question for you. How many of you are willing to make major life changes and pay a lot of money to support these? Oh, we actually get a couple of people who are willing to do that. Most people are not, okay? And so we knew when we heard about APS in Arcadia, we thought, wow, this is actually something easy and doable. And hopefully we can get those of you maybe who are right now are not using renewable energy sources to commit. So if we could get the next slide, and if I could get my green team members up and about. What we have is we've got 3 people running around with yellow sign-up sheets, and they're going to be asking you to commit to calling Arcadia or APS and finding out about what it would take to convert your energy source to their Green Choice program. For those of us on the green team, we found that it was really pretty easy. I know Patty said they found it very easy. And so again, I don't want to make any assumptions about any of your situations, but go ahead and at least commit to calling if you're not using it. There's also a place on the form if you maybe are already utilizing renewable energy sources. So we won't be bothering you. So make sure you check that box. And then we also know that some of you probably will not be able to commit. And the reason why is maybe you're not in the position to make that kind of decision, especially if you live in an apartment. So that was part of why too, we set the goal at 25%. But we're going to see if we can get more people involved in making that commitment. So we've got some people running around with that, those clipboards. The other thing that we also are asking of you, and if I can get the next slide, is we want to measure this. We want to make sure, that today, that we're actually having an impact, that we're acting as a community, and we're going to be calling you up on November 3rd. We're going to be having the green team's going to be having a little pizza party phone-a-thon here on the 3rd, and we'll be following up those of you who are interested in trying to change to a more green, sustainable energy source. So we have another clipboard Mary is going to be passing around, and it's a green sheet. And on that sheet, if you're interested in helping us with the phone-a-thon, because you don't want to put this all on us, and we want to act as a community, right? So if you would like to sign up and join us on Thursday, November 3rd to help us with that phone-a-thon, or also on that sheet, if you want more information about the green team, go ahead and there's a column for you to check there too. Now, the last item I want, and I should mention too, for those of you at home, there is an email address. You can contact me on any of these issues. And then we will also be putting something out in the weekly peak to make sure that those of you at home or those who are not attending today have an opportunity to engage as well. And finally, on that November 3rd, we will be calling you if we haven't heard from you at all. Okay, so lastly, the last item, and this is it's a reading I wanted to share with you for a couple reasons. One, I want the very practical aspect. I wanted to make sure that we don't end up with a closing and everybody runs out and we haven't had a chance to circulate the clipboards. But also, this reading deals directly with hope. And the reason why I chose this reading, and actually kind of stumbled onto it in the last couple of weeks, is it has a lot to do with why we're committed to this effort. Yes, it has a lot to do with sustainable energy, and it has a lot to do with decreasing greenhouse gases and these issues. But more importantly, I think when we're committed and engaged in these kinds of activities, it really has a lot to do with hope. So what this reading is, there are actually three of them. It's a letter from a 13-year-old girl to former President Obama. And the letter occurred on November 29th, 2016. And then the second reading is a poem that she also wrote. And then finally, his response. So the reading is, Dear President Obama, hello, my name is Zoe Ruff. I'm 13 years old and I live in Bath, Maine. I wrote you this poem to show you that people care about this election. I think in the end, it all comes down to pride. Whether someone voting for Donald Trump or for Hillary Clinton or for someone else, how can we take the results? How we take the results is as vital as the results themselves. As an extremely opinionated liberal myself, she's 13 years old. I believe that the citizens of America should be proud. Not that they elected Donald J. Trump into the White House, but that they got to live under the name Obama. That in and of itself is an honor. You have taught love and kindness to this country, and that's not something our future president can take away from us. We can make it through the next 4 years if we can keep our heads held up high and not let anyone tell us we should act one way or believe in a certain God or be threatened because of color. Because if we do, he really wins. And we cannot let anyone as afraid as him win. We have gained too much to go back now. I wanted to thank you for everything that you've done for my home and more. You've been honest, kind, and smart as our leader, and I couldn't be prouder to be an American. Yours sincerely, Zoe Ruff, age 13, grade 8. Her poem, the title is Election Results. A shuffle of slippers awakes me. I arise from my bed. Mom looks at me through tear-stained cheeks. Honey, she lost. Clinton lost. I squeeze my eyes shut. I can't even pretend to suppress the dry sob that echoes in my throat. Someone fear-driven will be the head of this glorious nation, my home country. How could we have done this? I convinced myself to get up. The days are now numbered until January 20th, that dreaded day when our true leader is kicked out, no longer in the position to make our country the place that we need it to be. Right now, only Obama can make me feel better. So I press the home button on my iPad to watch his speeches. Quiet tears leak down my face, a whispered reminder. My Mexican, Asian, and Muslim friends may soon be leaving me, all because of Trump. Who can't even begin to understand the rest of the world's point of view? I thought I'd be angry. Instead, I'm sad, and he's brainwashed America with his xenophobia-ridden lies. I turn back to Obama, yearning for everything and nothing at the same time. I tell myself, Zoe, we can get through this. Obama's response. Dear Zoe, Thank you for writing to me and sharing your thoughtful poem. In the letters that I receive from young people like you, I see the creativity and patriotism of your generation, and in particular, your reflections on the election and your outlook for the future give me tremendous hope of what lies ahead. I know it sometimes seems like for every 2 steps forward, we take 1 step back. But remember that the course of our country takes from here will be charted by engaged citizens like you who step forward and speak out for what they believe in. And I'm confident that as long as you stay focused on your education, set your sights high, and seek out new challenges, you can help shape a brighter future and affect positive change in your community and in the lives of those around you. Thank you again for your kind note. Know that I'm rooting for you in all that you do, and I wish you the very best. Your friend, Barack Obama. I'm rooting on you guys too. I'm rooting on this community. And again, we ask you, the Green Team, to join us in trying to reach our goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And now we extinguish our chalice and go for treats. And I know this has run long. Partly it was that song. And I hope that you put some energy towards this vision of sustainable energy for all. So we extinguish our chalice, but now we're the quiz. We don't have the words. Does anyone know them exactly? So we won't be. Not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all. Thank you.